There's a voice that follows you everywhere. It speaks when the room is silent. It whispers in moments of weakness. It rises loudly when fear grips your heart. That voice is not the crowd, not your family, not your past. It is you. And the way you speak to yourself is shaping the life you are walking into. For 3 days, just 3 days, dare to speak differently to your own soul. Because most people wake up and immediately agree with their doubts. They echo their fears. They rehearse their failures. I'm not enough. I can't do this. Nothing will change. And without realizing it, they prophesy defeat over their own lives. But you're not called to live like that. You are not designed to agree with darkness. The Bible shows us something powerful. David didn't wait for someone else to encourage him. He encouraged himself in the Lord. When no one stood beside him, he stood with God and spoke life into his own spirit. So for the next 3 days, you must become intentional with your inner voice. When you wake up, don't let your first thoughts be anxiety. Speak with authority. God is with me today. I am not alone. I am chosen. I am called. I am strengthened. Even if your feelings resist it, speak anyway. Because faith is not built on feelings, it is built on truth. When fear tries to enter your mind, don't entertain it. Answer it. Say, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. When you feel weak, don't confess weakness over and over. Declare, in my weakness, his strength is made perfect. I will not collapse. I will rise. This is not denial. This is spiritual alignment. There is something deeply prophetic about speaking God's truth over your own life. Your words carry direction. Your words carry agreement. And heaven responds when you align your voice with God's promises instead of your circumstances. For 3 days, refuse to insult your own calling. Stop speaking as if you were forgotten. Stop talking as if God has abandoned you. Stop repeating the lies the enemy planted in your mind. Instead, speak like someone who knows they are seen by God. Say, I am not behind. I am being prepared. I am not rejected. I am being redirected. I'm not broken beyond repair. I am being restored. You may not feel it immediately. You may still battle doubt. But something begins to shift when your words stop feeding your fear and start feeding your faith. Because your soul listens to you. Your spirit responds to what you say repeatedly. And when you consistently declare truth, something awakens inside you. A boldness, a clarity, a quiet strength that cannot be shaken easily. This is why few understand this calling. It is easier to complain than to declare. It is easier to agree with pain than to speak promise. It is easier to stay in emotional chaos than to discipline your inner voice. But you're not called to the easy path. You are called to the transformed life. 3 days of speaking life to yourself can break patterns that have been forming for years. 3 days of intentional words can interrupt cycles of negativity, doubt, and fear. 3 days of aligning your voice with God can awaken a deeper awareness of his presence in your life. And once you taste that shift, you will not want to go back. You will realize that your voice was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to build you. There's a voice within you that never goes silent. It speaks before anyone else does, and it continues long after the world grows quiet. It interprets your experiences, labels your identity, and shapes how you see tomorrow. Most people never stop to question it. They simply accept whatever it says is truth. When failure happens, that voice says you are not enough, and you agree. When fear rises, it tells you to shrink back, and you obey. Without realizing it, you begin to partner with a narrative that was never authored by God. This is where the battle truly begins, not outside but within. Because before anything manifests in your life, it is first spoken in your mind. The enemy does not need to defeat you publicly if he can persuade you privately. If he can train your inner voice to echo doubt, insecurity, and defeat, then you will walk into situations already surrendered. You will hesitate when you should move. You will stay silent when you should speak. You will settle when you were created to rise. But there comes a moment where you must confront that voice. Not ignore it, not suppress it, but challenge it. You must ask yourself, is this what God says about me? Because not every thought deserves agreement. Not every voice deserves authority. Just because it is familiar does not mean it is true. You have been listening to yourself for years, but now you must learn to speak back. When that voice tells you that you are weak, you respond with truth. When it tells you that you are forgotten, you answer with what God has declared. This is not about pretending everything is fine. It is about refusing to let lies define your reality. It is about breaking agreement with everything that contradicts your identity in Christ. Many people are waiting for external encouragement, but transformation begins when you stop waiting and start confronting. The way you speak to yourself is either building a prison or opening a door. Every negative confession strengthens chains. Every truth-filled declaration loosens them. This is why you cannot be passive with your thoughts. Passivity allows negativity to take root. Intentionality uproots it. Your mind is not meant to be a place of torment. It is meant to be a place of renewal. But renewal requires awareness. You must notice when your inner dialogue drifts into darkness. You must catch the moments when fear disguises itself as logic. You must recognize when past wounds try to rewrite your future. Awareness is the beginning of authority. And once you see it clearly, you cannot unsee it. You realize that you have been agreeing with things that were never assigned to you. You recognize that you have been carrying labels that heaven never spoke. And in that realization, something begins to shift. You no longer sit quietly while your own voice tears you down. You rise within yourself and take back the authority that was always yours to begin with. Once you have confronted the inner voice, the next step is not silence. It is replacement. Because the human soul does not remain empty for long. If you remove lies, but do not fill the space with truth, the old patterns will return stronger. This is why you must become intentional about what you speak over yourself. Not occasionally, not when you feel strong, but daily, consistently, with purpose. Speaking truth over your soul is not a motivational exercise. It is a spiritual alignment. It is choosing to agree with what God has already declared, even when your emotions resist it. Your feelings may say one thing, your circumstances may suggest another, but truth remains unchanging. And when you speak that truth repeatedly, you begin to train your soul to recognize it as reality. There is power in declaration, not because of volume or emotion, but because of agreement. When your words come into agreement with God's word, something begins to shift internally. Your perspective changes. Your posture changes. The way you approach life begins to reflect what you are confessing. You stop reacting from fear and start responding from faith. You must understand that your soul is listening to you at all times. It absorbs what you say, whether positive or negative. If you constantly declare defeat, your soul will prepare for failure. If you repeatedly speak life, your soul will begin to expect breakthrough. This is why careless words are dangerous. What you say casually today can become your mindset tomorrow. So you begin each day with intention. Before the world speaks into your mind, you speak into your own spirit. You declare that God is with you, that you are not abandoned, that you are equipped for what lies ahead. Even if nothing around you confirms it, you choose to say it anyway. Because truth is not dependent on confirmation, it stands on its own authority. Throughout the day, you remain alert. When fear tries to rise, you do not entertain it. You answer it. When doubt whispers, you interrupt it with truth. This is an active process. It requires awareness, discipline, and persistence. There will be moments when it feels repetitive, even mechanical, but consistency is what creates transformation. You are not speaking to impress others. You are speaking to reshape your inner world. Each declaration is like planting a seed. At first, you see nothing. Then slowly, something begins to grow beneath the surface. Your thinking starts to shift. Your reactions begin to change. What once triggered anxiety now meets resistance. What once caused you to retreat now meets courage. Over time, truth becomes your default language. You no longer have to force it as much because it has become part of you. Your soul begins to echo what you have been consistently declaring. Faith rises more naturally. Peace becomes more accessible. Clarity begins to replace confusion. This is how transformation takes root, not in one moment of inspiration, but through repeated agreement with truth. Day by day, word by word, you align your inner voice with God's promises, and in that alignment, your soul begins to find stability, strength, and direction. There's a difference between knowing what is true and consistently speaking it when pressure rises. Anyone can declare faith when life feels stable. But discipline is revealed when everything inside you wants to retreat into fear. This is where many people struggle because they rely on inspiration instead of training. They wait until they feel strong before they speak strong words, but strength is not built that way. Strength is formed through repetition, through choosing the right words, even when your emotions resist them. The discipline of faith-filled words is not about perfection. It is about persistence. It is waking up every day and deciding that your voice will not be ruled by your circumstances. It is choosing to respond instead of react. Because reactions are driven by emotion, but responses are shaped by truth. When something unexpected happens, your first instinct may be fear, frustration, or doubt. That instinct is natural, but it does not have to be final. Discipline teaches you to pause, to catch that moment, and to redirect your words before they take root. Your words are forming patterns, and patterns become habits. If you repeatedly speak negatively under pressure, your mind learns to default to negativity. But if you train yourself to speak truth in those same moments, a new pattern begins to form. At first, it feels unnatural, even forced. You may stumble over your own declarations. You may feel like you are contradicting everything around you. But over time, what once felt unnatural becomes instinctive. This kind of discipline requires awareness. You must become sensitive to the moments when your inner dialogue begins to drift. It often happens quickly, almost unnoticed. A small disappointment turns into self-criticism. A delay turns into doubt. A challenge turns into a narrative of defeat. If you're not paying attention, those thoughts multiply and shape your entire outlook. But when you're disciplined, you catch them early. You interrupt the pattern before it gains momentum. There's also a cost to this discipline. It requires you to let go of the comfort of negativity. Complaining can feel familiar. Doubt can feel justified. Fear can feel logical. But discipline calls you higher. It asks you to speak what is true, not what is easy. It pushes you to reject the language that keeps you stuck and embrace the words that move you forward. You will not always feel immediate results. There will be days when your declarations seem to echo without impact. But discipline is not built on visible outcomes. It is built on consistency. Every time you choose truth over fear, you are strengthening something within you. Every time you refuse to speak defeat, you are weakening old patterns that once controlled you. Eventually, this discipline produces confidence. Not a loud or arrogant confidence, but a steady, unshakable assurance. You begin to trust your own voice because it is aligned with truth. You no longer panic as quickly because your response has been trained. You no longer spiral into negativity because you have built a habit of returning to truth. This is how authority is developed. Not through a single moment, but through repeated choices. You train your words, and your words begin to train your mind. You shape your speech, and your speech begins to shape your spirit. What once required effort becomes part of who you are, and your voice begins to carry a weight that comes from discipline, consistency, and unwavering alignment with truth. There is something that begins to awaken within you when your words consistently align with truth. It is not loud at first. It does not demand attention. It grows quietly, steadily, like something that has always been there, but was buried under years of doubt and contradiction. As you continue to speak life, you start to sense a shift in how you see yourself. The identity you once questioned begins to feel more solid. The calling you once doubted begins to feel closer, more real, more possible. Many people are waiting for a sign from the outside, something dramatic that will confirm who they are meant to be. But often, the awakening begins within. It starts when your inner voice stops tearing you down and begins building you according to truth. Because your calling is not just something you step into externally. It is something you must first accept internally. And acceptance is shaped by what you repeatedly say and believe. When you speak differently over yourself, you begin to see differently. Situations that once felt like rejection start to look like redirection. Delays that once felt frustrating begin to feel purposeful. Even challenges start to carry meaning instead of just pressure. This does not mean everything becomes easy, but means everything becomes clearer. You are no longer interpreting your life through the lens of fear, but through the lens of faith. As this awareness grows, your posture changes. You carry yourself with a quiet confidence, not because everything is perfect, but because you know you are not lost. There's a deep sense that your life is being guided, that your steps are not random, and this awareness influences your decisions. You begin to move with intention. You stop chasing what drains you and start aligning with what strengthens you. There's also a deeper sensitivity that develops. You become more aware of what belongs in your life and what is not. Conversations, environments, and influences that once felt normal begin to feel out of place if they contradict the truth you are building within yourself. This is not about isolation. It is about alignment. Your inner transformation begins to affect your external choices. At the same time, you recognize that this awakening is not just for you. There's a responsibility that comes with clarity. When your voice has been strengthened, it is not meant to remain silent. The same truth that lifted you begins to flow through you. Your words carry weight, not because they are perfect, but because they are consistent. People begin to notice something different, something steady, something grounded. You no longer speak from a place of confusion, but from a place of conviction. Even in uncertain moments, there is a foundation within you that does not collapse easily. You understand that your calling is not about constant visibility or recognition, but about alignment and faithfulness. It is about becoming who you were created to be, step by step, word by word. And as this continues, you realize that the change you were searching for externally has been forming internally all along. What you speak has shaped what you believe, and what you believe has begun to shape how you live. The voice within you is no longer an obstacle. It has become an instrument, guiding you, strengthening you, and drawing you closer to the life you were meant to walk in.